Hi, friends. I am back with another podcast of Let's Talk with Indrashish, powered by Bidhannagar Times. আজকের পডকাস্টটা ইট উইল নট বি ইন বেঙ্গলি, কারণ যে আমাদের সঙ্গে ডিরেক্টলি অস্ট্রেলিয়া থেকে আমার একজন বন্ধু সোনিয়া ওয়াটসন জয়েন করছেন, অ্যান্ড টুডে উই আর গোয়িং টু ডিসকাস অ্যাবাউট সামথিং উইচ হ্যাজ intrigued me from the bottom of my heart from a very young age. It's all about spirituality. So today we have Sonia with us. Thank you so much, Sonia, for your time. And thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
joining us
inviting
from
me.
Australia, New South Wales.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure. So, Sonia, today in this podcast show or podcast interview, I'm really curious to know about your journey. Most of our friends, you guys will be really happy to know, or rather you will be really surprised that the journey of Sonia from being Sonia to Sunana has a very important role to play in the root of spiritualism. So can you please help us in understanding how exactly Sonia Watson became Sunana?
I was introduced to Krishna Consciousness in 1999, and I just it's the knowledge of it that really attracted me, and the association that I had. And at the time, I had written a play and I was producing it. And in the middle of this play, it just became really obvious to me that it was something that I really resonated with. And then when it came to the play going on to the stage, I just found myself praying, like, oh my God, please, if this happens, I will do whatever I can, Krishna, to come closer to you. And then my journey with India started. But I wasn't sure about taking a guru. And then 10 years later, I decided to get initiated. And that was by the time I'd had 3 children. And that was while I was pregnant with my third child. All my children have Vedic names: Nrsimha, Bhishma, and Shraddha. So when I was pregnant with Shraddha, I was in some strong calamity at the time, because I knew that I wasn't really able to birth her. I was sort of out of my depths with having children, and so I felt the pressure to abort her, and I didn't want to abort her. And this, even though I booked it in, I ended up getting initiated instead, and I've been Sanina ever since. Yeah. But then in 2009, I did an Enneagram retreat, and that was a very profound retreat, because it went through all the different types, and every time a type was introduced to me, bang, it hit me of somebody I knew that was one of those types. And in that retreat, we got to experience how it works, and you get to find out what goes on inside a person, the motivation. So what it is, it's an ego wiring. So everyone has a fight and flight tendency, and there's only 9 types. And from those 9 types, it's like how, when you're triggered, you have a certain way to keep yourself to survive, because the body has to survive. But the essence is before a body and after a body. There's 9 qualities. There's purity, kindness, love, joy, peace, 6, intelligence, 7 is absorption, Shakti, and awareness. Now, before you take a body, you're one of those qualities. And then when you take a body, when the wiring to keep you alive, it's like the fuel to keep the body going. And when you don't really know what that quality is, it's happening unconsciously. So the reason I'm into the Enneagram is because it can bring you to the awareness of what your essence is, how you're functioning, and how to be a bit more, instead of like the car driving down the road out of control, you're more aware of what you're doing. So it really is a teaching tool for waking up to yourself. And I've not put it down for 12 years. Sounds a little bit obsessive, but I've just loved it so much that I'm actually able to see what is going on for everybody I meet quite quickly. I'm not doing it all the time, but I've just studied it so much. Not so much about like this. There's 3 subtypes: sexual, social, and self-preservation, survival of the fittest, survival of the species, the group, or just me, as in, so if there was a war on, some people go to protect the children, some people step forward and they're the legions, some people are the strategists, some people don't care and they just go out and they fight. So that wiring is going on all the time, but it's quietly. And then, should I keep going?
No, I was actually having I do have question, all right, before I get into the details of Enneagram. You mentioned during the difficult time of your life, you got initiated to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
How exactly, once you were initiated, how exactly Krishna consciousness changed your life or transformed your life in a better way?
I wouldn't say that it was actually the initiation, so to speak. It was more about my travels to India with my children, going to the same place mostly, up in the Himalayas, and going via Mayapur or Vrindavan. And it was mostly the Vedic values that I was attracted to. And I don't want to like downplay, like the temples are beautiful in Australia, but I call it Hare Christians because there's problems in all sorts of institutions, whether they're religious or not. And my thing was more about raising children, and I wanted to raise them with Vedic values. And I found the Vedic qualities I really resonated with some families up in the Himalayas, and they supported the way that I wanted to raise my children, which was already aligned anyway. And the way that I wanted to raise them in Australia, they just didn't align. And so I found raising children in Australia quite a struggle. I mean, I had the beach and there's all these beautiful things, but I think I'm Indian on the inside, you know, when you understand karmas and sanskars. And the circumstances of my children's birth were really crazy. Like Nara is born on Srila Prabhupada's appearance day. I labored through Janmashtami. Bhishma was born on Father's Day, and Shraddha was born on Diwali. So and the circumstances of my firstborn's birthday was in the doorway on dusk, onto the lap of his father, onto a Nashringa t-shirt, with an umbilical cord around his neck. He's a Leo in the West, in the Chinese. He's a Leo in the Western, and he's a snake in the Chinese. It was just all a bit weird, and they all came with a dot on the third eye. So it's just an indication that we've all had some Vedic history in another time.
Right. So what exactly, it seems like you were well aware of the Vedic history even before you got initiated. So at what age did it all start? I mean,
I was in my Saturn return in 28. I was 28 doing that play. And my first son's father, I was friends with him, and he joined the temple. He'd been traveling around the world, and he'd been at the temple in Cape Town and in London. And he just seemed very insistent that I learn Vedic knowledge. So every time I hung out with him, like we lived together, and he didn't join the temple. And then he joined the temple, and he became a brahmachari. Well, he wasn't wearing saffron, but he just was so insistent that I learn Bhagavatam. And every time I saw him, he was just constantly telling me about Vedic knowledge. So I got a lot of downloads from him. And then, you know, crazy things happen. I mean, Byron, I lived in Byron Bay, and Byron Bay is kind of like the tourist mecca of Australia. And it doesn't run like other Western places. Of course, it's still in the West, but they always say back in the day in Byron Bay, but back in the day in Byron Bay, there were it was known as sort of Little India. So it had a different way of functioning, still Western, but a little bit integrated with some of the Indian values. Like everyone in Byron Bay did yoga, and so it wasn't a rarity for always devotees in the main street, Rath Yatra, all this. So there's and the temples are not far from Byron, up at a mountain called Mount Warning. So there's a big community of 3 temples up near Mount Warning, a big community of devotees, and because of the tourism in Byron, there were a lot really doing Harinam, but it wasn't so much that. I mean, I definitely resonated with the holy name, but it was more India in itself, in its organic way of sharing it. Like I find the Western way is a little bit sort of
different from Indian ways, Eastern ways.
Just different, yeah. Just different.
Right. So when Naina, when you came to Himalayas, you said that you traveled to Himalayas, and out here in India, most of us, not many of us do visit Himalaya. It's kind of a mystery for many of us, and we believe that Lord Shiva and Shakti that we were discussing, those energies are out there. So you mentioned that you have also been to Mayapur.
They're out there and in there. They're inside.
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what I am asking is that when you visited Himalayas and when you visited Mayapur, these are both the places are in India. Did you feel any difference in the kind of energy in both the places? Any difference in the energy?
Of course. Like the first time I was completely innocent in the sense of I didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness, only that I prayed that this play would be a success, and it went off. Like it was really successful. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. I just wrote a play because the kids wanted me to do something with them, because I had done something before with them. And because it worked, I had to fulfill my promise, because I never wanted to go to India, because I thought, oh, it's dirty and it makes you sick. Why would I go somewhere dirty that makes you sick? But after the play was a success, I realized the way to get closer to Krishna consciousness was to go to India. So the first place I went was the Dham Sri Chaitanya Saraswat, which is Srila Govinda Maharaj. He gave me this name, but he's passed. And I went to that temple, and yeah, my first time in India was in Calcutta, and I went, wow, hell really does exist. And I wanted to go home, but I stayed, and I then went to Mayapur. This was for Gaura Panim. And I just thought Krishna consciousness was this, it was just a bunch of hippies up on the hill chanting, and I knew that it was from India. But then when I went to Mayapur, oh my God, this was the ISKCON temple. And, I know there's a lot of undercurrent things that go on there too, but it was like 2 football fields full of devotees all chanting Hare Krishna. If that doesn't get you off, I don't know what does. I was blown away at the devotion and the sounds. For me, it's always kirtan and that vibration. And so I did do temple, or it does me. I was in the whole celebration for 6 weeks, and then we went to Vrindavan, and this was before children, so I could go really deep. I could as a Westerner who doesn't really know anything, but I was up at Mongalati and chanting, but I continued my practice because living in a temple wasn't for me, because I'm not Miss Puritan on every level. Like, it's no illicit sex, no meat eating, no gambling, and no intoxication. And that all seemed a bit stiff, especially coming from the West. So I bumped into a friend after it, and her and I went up to Dharamsala, and it was an organic village life. That's what turned me on, was having Tali on a cow sheet floor around a fire. That's my thing, and the people it was family life, temple life, family life. There's a difference. So temple life is for getting into doing sadhana and for getting into kirtan and having that regulation. But I
So
needed
didn't you
family
feel
life.
that there were restrictions? Did it go well with you? Because, it's quite clear that Western
Everything
culture
went
and Eastern
well.
culture is quite different. Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is that, how did it go with you? I mean, there's a lot of rules and regulations if we see according to the spiritual culture out there. Like, you have to practice kirtan every day. You have to pray. There's certain timetable that you need to follow. And when you are coming from absolute freedom, so when you were introduced to this kind of lifestyle, was it difficult for you to get accustomed to it? How was it?
No, because it was like diving into an ocean of that. I'm going to use their jargon, of nectar, and and I stayed in long enough to. I was really very, very strange when I came out of the temple. I could see what the teaching was showing me. As soon as I stepped out of the temple, I just saw more demonic influences. Like, I could see the desires of men looking at women's breasts, and I could see it was just all yeesh. It was horrible, actually. And then that's why I needed to get up to the Himalayas, because my friend said, let's get out of here. This is too busy, and I know a good place. And she's married to an Indian man who they were just really good association, and they just knew a good place. So we went up to Dharamsala, and instantly it was like going home as well. So I mean, I know you're asking, it's just one's for one. I'm not the type of person that would be able to live in a temple full time, but I
Right.
completely appreciate the purification process. So my mind wasn't able to understand what had happened to me. Only that when I came out of the temple, I'd obviously purified my system so much, but my mind didn't know how to deal with it. And I was like, what is going on? Everyone's just horrible, not like demonic. Everyone's like lusty. So actually, just back to the Enneagram, the ego qualities, I just said kindness,
Right.
joy, I just said. So the other side of the Enneagram types, purity runs on anger. That's what blocks it. Kindness is blocked by pride. Love is blocked by deceit. Joy is blocked by envy. Peace by avarice. Intelligence by doubt. Absorption by gluttony. Shakti by lust, and awareness by laziness. So I could see the layers of other people that hadn't purified themselves, but I didn't understand that I'd purified myself, but I just saw all this density, as in I could see the lust in people. I could see, and it freaked me out. And then, I don't know if I'm meant to say this, but I just had a joint, and I just relaxed. And then my friend said, let's get out of here. So we went up, and it was just like more more because I was raised in nature, and my father brought biodynamic farming to Australia. So I was already raised in farm living, and I had a very sort of organic upbringing. So being in the Himalayas around village people, it just made a lot of sense to me. I've always liked
Right.
fires and going to the water, just natural stuff.
Right.
So, and I just resonated with the people.
Right. So I have one question now. Let's head towards Enneagram. Now you mentioned like there are different qualities or for different sections of Enneagram, and it's blocked by negative qualities. Now, when you were introduced to the world of Enneagram, uh, where exactly did you start studying about it, about the details of that?
I did a retreat in Byron Bay again, Byron Bay, and a, it went all day, every day for, I don't know, I think it was 2 weeks. And then the following year, there was another one. And then there was sort of like what we're doing now. Back then, we would meet only on the phone, and we would get given books to read just so we could go deeper each time. But it was definitely for the purpose of seeing what your shortcomings were in yourself and how you're avoiding waking up to yourself. And I mean, back to the sort of institutionalized jargon, it's like a Mayavadi philosophy, and I had already really into Krishna consciousness. So but that aside, it helps you to see your inner workings of how, like when you're introduced to your own type, most people make the assumption that what they're feeling and the way they behave is what's going on for most people. And
So
until you actually
when you're
see,
talking about own type, what exactly you mean by that?
well, there's 9 types, and in the Enneagram, I'm a type 8, which means I'm Shakti is my essence, as in my spirit, but in a body, I'm wired with a fight and flight tendency called an ego. Like the body and the ego are the same thing, and has a fight and flight tendency, which runs on lust. So I got to see my qualities, and in the retreat, we also had videos as well to see what other 8s were doing. And he used me straight away as the example of the 8. So straight up, I had to get up on the stage and talk about how I see things. And then it runs exactly in accordance to the 8 thing. And then they did it with every type. And when I found out about the 1, I just burst into tears, because I was, oh my God, I really understand what's going on for my son. And that's been my fascination since. And that's what my website is based on, is showing all the types so people can understand it quickly, because I've been fascinated with it for 12 years. So I want to show people how they can identify their type quickly. And if they're progressive and wanting to wake up to themselves, they can start using it quite quickly, and they can understand the dynamics between them and another person. And that's really where I come in as a counselor. I'm a qualified high school teacher and counselor, with minors at university in the first degree in psychology. So I've always been interested in how people tick. But this is like a sacred algorithm. It's not just, oh, that's your type. This is like a blueprint genetic thing of how you are functioning. And this is where the Satchit Anand comes in. So again, a long time ago, I opened up the Canto 1, page 1, book 1, everything of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Satchit Anand. And I just saw it. And I went, oh my God, the anger points, Sat. The fear points, Chit. The emotional points, Anand. So it's more... so the anger points, which is 891, their presence. And the fear points, 567, their knowledge. They run on fear. So when you are something, but you're wired to behave in a way that you're not, in separation, thinking that you're a body, I'm me, you're you, I'm a female from Australia, you're an Indian man, blah, blah, blah. And sure, that's all relative, but beyond that, the who you are, the essence of your personality, and again, from Krishna Consciousness, I understood that personality, there's a spiritual personality. You can if you want to, but you don't absorb yourself into the oneness. It's in Krishna Consciousness, you're simultaneously one and different. Whereas like the Mayavadi, why am I telling you?
Right.
You already know all this stuff. But the thing about Satchit Anand fits to this sacred algorithm. And then I looked into the history of it, and you can track it down to, because it's sacred geometry, sacred mathematics, which all comes from India, but you can actually see the roots in all cultures. And if you try to trace back the Enneagram, I don't know if it's even in the ego thing. It predates religion, even though the person that brought it into this timeline is a man called Godolph. But I don't even know how to say his name.
So, as per as my understanding goes, Enneagram is actually a blueprint of a person's personality, and it actually helps you to identify your friend and your partner, whomever you are being associated with. It becomes easier for you to hack into the person's life, or rather understand the person in a better way. So how do you identify, in the sense, like, let's say, for example, I'm personality number, let's say, 9.
Yeah, you're 9.
All right. So
it's a little bit like there's a poodle and there's an Alsatian. There's a Rottweiler. There's a bulldog. Or if it's more like a car, because the body's like a car, it's like there's a Land Rover and there's a Ferrari. It's not that obvious, but when someone's stressed out and carrying on about something, that's really when you can tell. But when someone is just really, really zen, it's much harder to tell, because they're closer to their essence. But the whole point of knowing it is when someone's stressed out, you can understand what's going on for them rather than take it personally that they're freaking out about something or you're freaking out about something. It just improves relationships because, oh, that's my tendency. Oh, that's your tendency. So you don't have to get upset with each other because you're perceiving this person as attacking you. It might seem so, but it just gives you that ability to see much deeper. It's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, the Enneagram can be, but it's about progressive, insightful, really deepening into yourself, because you don't really want to keep taking birth on planet Earth and carry on like a pork chop trying to get stuff. This is Kali Yuga. Are we here to exploit one another, or are we here to like wake up? And that's why I've always resonated with Vedic culture, because it's the deepest yet.
Right. So I believe it actually helps you to work as a healer as well, because, especially after pandemic time, or rather whatever the difficult situation which we are going through, most of us are going through depression and kind of mental ailments. And, out here in India, I don't know about Australia, out here in India, depression or mental ailment is kind of a taboo subject. So people are not really comfortable coming forward and discussing. So do you get cases where, you're contacted by individuals who are going through depressions, and do you help them by using Enneagram to get out of the situation?
Of course. I'm a counselor. A counselor, and I work one-on-one with clients, but I have actually been postponing it because I really have wanted to get my website together. I'm also building another business. And can I share my dream and my vision of what I'm trying to do with it?
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
So you're saying, of course, I could just go for the money, and just take on clients and book myself up and just exhaust myself doing one person at a time. And also that does turn me on. But my dream is I wanted to live in India since 99. And from thinking it was hell on earth to going, I really want to live here. And then I got back to Australia, and then I was pregnant, and then bang, 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 all these children came through me. And but all the time I've wanted to be in India. And so, I've raised them there. But now that my kids are older, the only thing that I haven't fulfilled in this life is my career, but it's also very, very related with sadhana and sangha and spiritual awakening. So this website is to introduce to I was gonna share the steps. What I want to do is a retreat, same like the one that I went to, but again different as well, because I understand now that we're all, because I'm a strong, if anyone that's friends with me on Facebook, they know that I'm very much into the Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles by Jesus, and which is a lesson a day on showing you how to undo your ego. So we're all projecting our past onto the future. This will tie into what you were saying about India and everybody being stressed out, and everyone's stressed out all over the world. But what I see with the Satchit Anand of the three types is a room full of people understanding their types, and in a held space, because that's what a retreat is, a healing space, someone's grievance that comes up and is witnessed by another, it dissolves, because Course of Miracles and any spiritual practice says you look at the problem with awareness and it dissolves. So if let's say I was terribly wounded by someone that looks like you or that reminds me of you, but I know that you're not the person that did that to me, but I'm triggered just by meeting you, and something's going on, and I'm not liking you for some reason, but I know that you're not the person that hurt me that you've reminded me of. So in a shared space, that it's called conscious countertransference. So me knowing that you didn't hurt me, but you remind me of someone that hurt me, in a shared space, that moves from unconscious into conscious. And in a shared space, I can go, well, you remind me of this guy that rah, 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 and I can give my grievances. But because it's for the purpose of healing, you just see it and don't take it personally, because it's not you, and it just dissolves. So I'm wanting to organize people by firstly introducing the types, then they understand their type, and then anything is welcome into that group, just like in Sangha, like how I did it in when I first went into Enneagram retreats, where whatever the problem is, that everyone's got a knot that's binding them here in grievance of why they see a world in separation, of hostility or whatever it is, because the ego ranges from suspicious to vicious and attack and defense. And the ego and the spirit are not even in contact with one another. So Esther Hicks would call it the quantum. There's so many words you could go for it, but it's all the same, that shared collected conscious space of what you really are. In that space, when someone brings a grievance or a pain or whatever, it can come up, it can be met by another, and it actually really does heal. Have you ever heard of family constellation?
Yeah, I guess I've read about it in an article.
I've done a family constellation thing before, and it's very powerful. So it's a little bit like a family constellation where, my mother did this, my father did that, and then they choose someone to be your father, or you choose them. I can't even remember, it was that long ago. And you can resolve stuff. So say if you've got a dead parent and you've still got a grievance with them, some pain, some hurt, you can resolve that. And Robert Saboda goes into that in his books, like the Left Hand of God and the Agora books. I don't know about how you can resolve sanskars and karmic. So that's your karmic blueprint, and you can resolve sanskars or problems with others. But then, I'm going really deep, but I just mean what I've done before on a user-friendly, more narrow perspective, like the person that's helped me build my website. She has she might have had some family dramas, and I was able to tell without even meeting her partner at the time, the father of her children, I could tell what he was, and then there was some calamity, and I was able to help her navigate her through that. And then she's telling me some problems going on with her children, and I can tell without meeting the children why the dynamics are. And
So how do
because,
you identify that? Let's say, for example, you're talking to a person with a personality type, let's say 5. So does it mean that number 5 will be attracting number 8? Does it go like
well,
that?
it's funny that you ask that one. I have noticed that the algorithm, like, I'm an 8, and there's always 4s around me. My mother's a 4, my daughters are 4, my best friends are 4s, and the people that built my website and my graphic artists, they're 4s. And because I'm aware of that, and that's because they're artists, I'm noticing that every time I meet an 8, there's a 4 in their life. I also notice, so 1 is 1 in 500 because they're revolutionists. They're the ones that, like Tesla, Srila Prabhupada, um, Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi. It's on my website, theembrace.com.au. But they're the revolutionists. They see where things need to be. So a thing that I notice, and if they're so rare, my sons are 1. I communicate with my 1 fixation son, and then straight away, other 1 fixations will contact me. Just that's how it works. And then I noticed that, okay, like the 6s are usually 50% of the population, but when they're having some calamity, I'm noticing all 6s are having the same calamity. Obviously the details are different, but the core essence of their problem, say, like some days are sunny and some days are really cloudy. The cloudiness for some people, it's running in the same algorithm that 4s have a really crappy day the same day. And then I'm not saying this is absolute. It's something through me that I'm noticing in people around me. That's why I'm fascinated by it. I can almost predict. The CIA used the Enneagram, obviously for the wrong reasons, but you can predict how people are going to function, and every culture is an Enneagram type. So
Right.
people think that when you introduce the Enneagram to someone, they see it as you trying to box them, but it's the other way around. Like I'm saying with the car, you're in a body, you're already boxed. It's the way out of the box. It doesn't mean you leave the box, because you always need that body. It keeps you alive, but it helps you to see your tendencies and not believe them so intently. You get to just chill out a bit with it all. 8s are intense. I'm an intense person, and there's some chilled out other types. When you learn about it, your shortcoming doesn't have to be the one that's at the front, blocking your vision of thinking this small thing about yourself and this small thing about another person, and this stupid conflict. It's actually really quite simple. I know I've studied for 12 years, but that's what I'm trying to do, is show it simply so you can connect to it simply and wake up from your trance.
Brilliant, beautiful. That's very beautifully placed. I think if most of the people are understanding Enneagram, and if my friends who are watching this video, if you are interested to resolve the problems in your life, please contact Sonia. Now, Sonia, I have one more question. You mentioned that you do healing, all right? You do meet clients. Now, there's something called chakra healing, all right, where different, it's considered chakras, like there are 7 chakras in human body, and different chakras heals you in different ways. So when you do healing, is it a part of it, the entire thing, chakra healing and all?
I feel like I'm already using a terminology that I think that naturally comes into it. The chakras, even the kapha vata, everything that every tool that we can use comes into play when we're being conscious. It doesn't matter what jargon we're using or what, whether well, I can't think of one. What is it called? It doesn't matter what the modality is. If that's what's working, I think chakras are all part of it. And it's funny that you're asking this one, because I really think that the base chakra is the 9, which is you, and I think that the 8 is the sexual chakra, and onwards and upwards. But I can't say that as a qualified personality. You can only find out by having your own experience with it. Like I'm not a master of the other Enneagram types, because I'm not those types. All I can do is watch them, but I understand them, and I understand them better than they're understanding themselves sometimes. But that doesn't make me a master of, say, type 2 and what's going on for them. I can see what's going on for them, but I don't have those tendencies. I don't go into hysteria. I go into anger. Everyone, when they're pushed, goes into either fear, anger, or hysteria. They either go into, emotional types. I mean, of course, we're all emotional beings, we're all intelligent beings, and we're all presents, as in Satchit Anand. Obviously, some more than others, and some are more dense and some are more awake. It's a tool for where you are on a ladder, same like the chakras, on how to activate consciously and shift another level and awaken, rather than stay in density. That's why it's an incredible tool. But that doesn't make me a master of understanding the other types. And after 12 years, I'm still learning about, oh my God, that's my lust. People think lust is like just sex life. It's lust in everything. I want this now. I want that. This has to happen. It's insane how much all of us are actually completely ruled by our ego thought system. And that is what's going on the planet. That is what the problem is, that we've all been triggered into fight and flight. And that is squeezing on a global, universal level. But at the same time, it's squeezing us to see, for us to wake up, because there's simultaneously 2 things going on. We're all going nuts, but we're all awakening. But it's our choice on where we're at and what we're identifying with. Are we really this freaked out COVID, whatever, all that stuff? Are we going to keep identifying with it and keep the fear going and keep us in this trance of disturbance and conflict? Or can we actually just stop for a minute and step into who we really are? And this is a tool that unlocks that key inwards. And I know there are many, many modalities that you can do that. This one is just specifically for personality through ego. And I guess because of my practice with Krishna Consciousness and the Course in Miracles, they just go all really, really well together.
Right, absolutely. So the peace that we actually look for, or the happiness that we look for around us by purchasing luxurious stuffs and doing this and that, is actually inside us. And that's very beautifully explained by you, Sonja. Well, we are running short of time right now, and thank you so much for sharing details about Enneagram. I got to learn a lot. Can you share your website address once again, please, where we can check details?
Certainly. It's called theembrace.com.au. It's all lowercase, obviously.
theembrace.com.au. So my friends, whoever you are watching this video right now, please do visit the website. And I guess the detailed information that's out there is going to help you to resolve any issues that you are facing right now. Because, most of the issues that I personally believe, the issues that we face in our personal lives, it's actually within us. So once we resolve the issues which is or the traumas that we are going through within ourselves, I think the life becomes a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful thing that we are living. So let's enjoy this. And as Sonia stated, we all are part of the same family. It doesn't matter whether I'm in India and she's in Australia. I think the entire world is made for us. It doesn't matter if you're a human being or a canine. Let us stay together. Let us be happy, and let us go ahead and enjoy our lives to the fullest. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sonia.
Thank you.
I hope you have a great evening ahead. What's the time right now out there?
It's 4:15.
Okay. All right. So I hope you have a great evening. And thank you so much, friends, for staying tuned and watching today's video. This is me, Indrashish, signing off on behalf of Bidhanagar Times. Thank you.
Thank you.